This program is brought to you by the Vegetarian Society of Hawaii, a nonprofit organization dedicated to sharing with the community the many benefits of a vegetarian diet. Free monthly meetings include vegetarian experts found locally and on the mainland, quick and easy cooking demonstrations, and healthful and delicious food samples. Members enjoy an informative quarterly newsletter, social activities, and discounts at many vegetarian-friendly restaurants and health food stores. For an application, call 944-8344. That's 944-8344. Or visit our website at www.vsh.org. vsh.org.
Aloha, and welcome to the 20th annual membership meeting of the Vegetarian Society of Hawaii. It's really good to see all of you here tonight. The Vegetarian Society of Hawaii, as you may know, is currently celebrating 20 years of following our mission of promoting human health, animal rights, and protection of the environment by means of vegetarian education. And at nearly 1,600 members, is currently one of the largest nonprofit vegetarian societies in the nation. You can also go to our website, vsh.org, that's vsh.org, to see videos of this and many of our previous presentations. It's now time for our special guest. We're delighted to have with us tonight Susan Teton Campbell. Chef Teton took her advocacy in the kitchen after years of lecturing about food, health, and the environment with her award-winning book, The Healthy School Lunch Action Guide, and curricula motivating kids to make healthier food choices. Recently, she produced Chef Teton's Essential Cuisine, a 6-DVD set food show series highlighting raw, cooked, and cultured foods, a diet similar to the celebrated Centenarians. As chair of Slow Food Maui, Susan is inspired to help create a healthy, whole systems approach. As chair of Slow Food Maui, Susan is inspired to help create a healthy, whole systems approach to farming, dining, and health. Her body, mind, and soul approach is to make every bite count. Tonight, Chef Teton will present sugar-free desserts. Please welcome Chef Susan Teton Campbell.
Thank you, Lorraine.
I'd like to also mention that we have Passionate Raw Food here tonight at their table there, if you'd like to go and visit them. The organizer, Diana Hirsch, is with us. Give us a wave, Diana. Diana? Hi. So please visit her table. Thank you.
What's really fun about being in the kitchen, right? It's always an exploration. I don't know about you guys, but I can't even follow my own directions. So when it comes to a recipe, it seems like I always change it. And particularly with raw food, which is what we're going to make tonight. You know, so much of it depends on the flavor of the nuts and seeds and the fruit. I'm going to start out and just tell you what I'm going to make, and then I'm going to make it a little bit. And, you know, throughout that time, maybe I'll throw in some of my philosophy about food and things like that. But if I stand here and talk first, we'll never get anything done. So I got to get right into it. So the first thing we're going to make is the crust, a nut crust, which you can see in your recipes. And I have a pie that's already made here. Can you get that on the camera? Isn't that pretty? Okay, so this is what you can make, or this is what we're going to make, but we're not going to have time to really assemble it like that because it needs to be refrigerated afterwards. And so we're going to go ahead and just kind of spoon this out so you can all have a taste of it. So we're going to wreck it. But I just wanted you to see it all done. And there's so many different variations, as you can already guess. So, and instead of using the orange sauce on the top that it says there, you can use an orange sauce, but instead I did lilikoi sauce. Because it's lilikoi season and they're just going out, and I told you I can't follow my own directions, so I had to make up something different, and I love lilikoi, so that's what we made. And then, after we finish that, we're going to do some raw cacao truffles, which are so simple. I only have like 4 ingredients in it, and you can do so many variations too, but that's what we're going to make next. So I'm going to take these over for Carl. Now, how many people here are into raw food and kind of knowledgeable? Okay, very good. So some of you aren't, so some you're going to learn the same information. As you can see here, one of the beautiful things about raw food, I learned to make raw food in 1990. That was before it was trendy, popular, or anything. And I actually learned from the person that taught David Wolfe, or where David Wolfe learned most of his information about raw food. So I was very, very fortunate. And what I found, and I wasn't a vegetarian before that, but I read Diet for a New America in 1990 and by John Robbins, and it completely changed my life. And then I had the opportunity to learn raw food. And what I found out was the secret to raw food, and I think the reason so many people benefit so much from it, is because of nuts and seeds. Suddenly they're eating lots of good fats. And this is why I like to marry raw and cooked food together, but to use all your nuts and seeds raw. So the deal about seeds and nuts, is that they all have enzyme inhibitors on them. And these inhibit enzyme action. So sometimes when you eat a big handful of almonds, it doesn't really digest very well, right? You're kind of like, ooh, I kind of have a stomach ache. Well, it's because of that nice shell on the outside of the almond actually inhibits enzyme action. You could set it out here on the table for a week and nothing really would happen. But if you set a bowl of strawberries next to it, what would happen? Mold, gnats, flies, daily, because there's nothing there to inhibit that enzyme breakdown. And so your nuts and seeds in raw food culinary style, which is really just what it is, you want to soak them to get the enzyme inhibitors off. So you can see here, this is pecans, and you can see how dark the water is. Those are the enzyme inhibitors, and that's the reason for soaking the seeds. It also fills them with water and makes them a different consistency. So I'm just going to pour the juice off here so you can see. And ordinarily, if we were home or in front of a sink, I would want to rinse them as well. But we don't have that, so we're just going to do this. So you can see how dark the water is? And so this really makes a difference in the consistency of the nut. So when you buy roasted nuts and you think, oh, they're so good for you, most of the heat destroys the good essential fatty acids out of your nuts. And so that's why you want to keep them as raw as possible. But to soak them is the best. Now, is it going to really kill you if you eat a handful of walnuts? No. But we're talking optimal here, and we're talking about a culinary style which has really gifted people with so many great desserts. That's what's the greatest about raw food. Switching to raw food, I thought I'd died and gone to heaven because I love to have desserts. And I could have a raw food pie or, John wrote a book called Healthy at 100. Has anyone read that book? Yeah? Awesome book. He went to 4 different cultures, and he studied the centenarians people that lived to be 100 years old. And he found whatever consistencies they had in their life, from diet to lifestyle. And every single one of those cultures all had a naturally fermenting food in their diet, which would mean kefir or a raw sauerkraut or a grain, something that cultures on its own. So during many explorations in my own health issues and doing all the studying I've done for the last 20 years, I found that cultured food, cultured vegetables are so important to put into your life on a daily basis because that's where you get all this great probiotic bacteria. It's easy, it's affordable. If you go to Down to Earth or most of your health food stores and get a raw sauerkraut, it's going to cost you like $15, $17 for one little jar, and you can make them on your own. So that's how I developed the cooking shows, which was raw and then cooked, how to use nuts and seeds with your cooked vegetables, because you want to keep your fats raw. Do you follow me? So that's the whole important, really the greatest thing about raw food is the fats. I mean, if we were to take number one single thing, because chard or kale or something like that, it's not going to matter that much if it's cooked or not. In fact, sometimes it's better to have it cooked, or lentils or things like that. They're more assimilable. So that's why I did raw, cooked, and cultured, and it seems to be a diet that really works well for me. Okay, so we're going to continue. We had the pecans. And now I'm going to do the walnuts. And you can see the walnuts, how dark the water is as well. And then we would give these a quick rinse and throw them in a Cuisine. Really simple. And let's see, what else? Orion, she's going to be my recipe reader.
Pineapples?
No, we're on the nut crust. Dates. We're going to have dates.
Ah. 6 dates.
This to be dried 6 days. So I think I made just a little bit of extra here. I'm going to put some gloves on so I keep this. Now I like to soak the dates before, I like to take the seeds out before I soak them because inevitably I mess them up because they get so gooey. They get so gooey that it seems like I always lose a seed. I put it all in the blender and I hear this horrible noise and then I got to take it all out. So I have finally learned to take the seeds out first. It also kind of breaks the date apart. But medjool are my favorite. I love the taste of these. These are so great to sweeten. And so when we talk about desserts without sugar, this is one of my favorite things to use is dates. You could put raisins in here, coconut, just do whatever you want, anything kind of sweet. You could soak dried papaya, dried pineapple, so many different dried sweet fruits, and soak them, bring them, get them all moist and gooey, and then you can just make any flavor you want. But dates are a really good standard. So I'm going to put about 6 to 8 dates in there because I think I have a little bit of extra nuts. So we got a couple. And what you do is you soak them, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're just going to be a little extra sweet. 7, 8. Now, you want to soak them and keep the water, even if you keep it for a couple of days, because if you're in the middle of making desserts, you might need this water to help sweeten whatever you're using. So we're going to pour a little of that in. Okay, a little salt, right?
Yes, 1/4 teaspoon of
Okay.
salt and 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract.
Okay. It was really fun shopping at Down to Earth last night and getting everything for this class. Especially because I didn't have to pay for it. It was just really fun. You know? I was like, woohoo, let's go shopping. Because that's such an awesome store. The ones we have on Maui is quite a bit smaller. But it's a great store too, especially their deli. All right, so we're just going to mix that up. Now there's a couple of crusts that I've tasted lately, sorry for the noise, that are real salty, and I kind of like them. Now, has anybody ever made like bliss balls? No? Yeah, okay, so some of you raw food people. This can be, even though it's a crust for a raw food pie, you roll these into a ball and you put them in the fridge. You can put raisins in them, you can put coconut, and you have really great little snack. You can freeze them. They're great for kids because you're getting lots of good nuts, a lot of good essential fatty acids, some good whole fruits. And from what I understand, dates are supposed to be very good for your lungs. So I kind of like to keep it kind of crunchy. You can just kind of feel it and see if it's a little bit crunchy. Now, ideally, if we had lots of time, I would dehydrate this crust in the pie dish for at least about 5 hours and get it nice and crunchy. And that's good enough right there. And we're going to give this to Carl. If I can get it off of here. I just want to show it to you first, though. Can you see that? So you just blend it. You can do it a little less if you want. Put a little more salt in it. Just do whatever tastes good to you. And I usually sample as I go a lot. So I guess I better not break my habit. Make sure it's good. Oh, it's really good. It is. It's really good. If you don't have a dehydrator, don't dehydrate it. You know, if you had to and you really wanted it more crispy, you could put it in your oven for a little while at the very lowest temperature. Just turn your oven on warm. But the pie that you're having tonight, the one that you saw at the beginning of the class, not dehydrated. And I refrigerated it, and it didn't get cold enough, so I actually froze the whole pie for about 3 hours and before we brought it here, so it would stay kind of cool. Okay, there's Carl. It's kind of messy. Okay, Carl, here you go. And here's the lilikoi sauce. And before I let him take it away, I made it pretty much like the date sauce. I cut all the lilikois in half, put them in the blender, blended them up to break that membrane down a little bit, and I like to get the seeds going a little bit too, but I don't leave all the seeds in. And then I strained it and really pressed all the seeds in so I could get every bit of juice. And all I did was add, and I wanted to show you guys this because I was so excited about it today, I put agar in it too, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more and show you to thicken it. But I didn't put quite enough because it's not as thick as I'd like it to be. So it's kind of liquidy. I did use agar, but obviously not enough. Here's what I was excited about today. This is pure sugar cane. And we went to the farmer's market in Hawaii Kai, and did I say that right? Hawaii Kai. There was this guy there, his name was Sammy, and he was pressing fresh sugar cane. And this is so delicious, and it's actually quite medicinal. I was reading all his literature about it. It's actually quite good for you, particularly because when anything is in its raw form, it's whole. And when something is whole, you're getting the benefit of what the earth has grown for you. It has not been stripped of its original minerals, and it's very powerful. It's very good. So I just put a little bit of that and a little bit of maple syrup because I think the tartness is really good, against the sweet. So I think that it's really wonderful to start enjoying these fruits with their own flavor, not thinking, realizing you have to just put so much sugar on everything, because these desserts are so rich with fat and good fats that your body will assimilate and love, be great for your skin and every cell in your body, because we need essential fatty acids. Okay, so that's the crust. That's all you have to do. You can put it right in the pie tin and or any kind of dish and leave it at that. Now we'll make the filling. So I think we're going to start out with a pineapple. Okay, so I've got 4 cups of pineapple. Whoopsie, whoopsie, whoopsie. Have you guys ever done this? You forget to put the blade in? And just try to fit it in there afterwards. I've tried, and then I go, okay, all right, I'll dump it. I'll dump it and start over. I've done that so many times. So I'm not going to clean this because it's just got juicy, yummy stuff in it. So here we go with the pineapple. And what's next?
1.5 cups of mac nuts or cashews.
Okay, so we don't have mac nuts, as I said. We don't have mac nuts, as I said earlier. At first, with all this film equipment, I felt like Rachel Ray or something, but I don't now. Because I'm stuck in a position. Anyway, okay, here's cashews. Cashews, if you'll notice, a lot of raw food desserts are made from cashews. And that's because they really work well as a flavor and a consistency. I love walnuts, and walnuts are one of your highest nuts in your omega-3s. And I love the taste of them, so I often use them even when I make a nutberry pudding. Was it 1.5 cups? Okay, there's 1. Yeah, let's just dump it all in. Okay, so then we have 3/4 maple syrup. Okay, there we go. Already measured out. And the agar.
Yeah, it's 2 teaspoons.
Okay, who here has worked with agar? Okay, good. You can see in here? Let's see.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay, so here's the package. And this is kind of what I wanted to show you in this class, was how to thicken. There's a couple of agents you can use. This is made out of sea vegetables. And one of the things I teach in my DVD series, especially the Ala Oil series, is how to make a mineral mixture out of sea vegetables. Sea vegetables are so powerful. They are so full of minerals, and most of us are starving for minerals because of the way our food has been grown for years. So sea vegetables, I make a mineral mixture, and I sprinkle sea vegetables on everything because I don't like cooking them and I don't like chopping them. It's just way too much trouble. So I blend a big mixture up and a dry powder. They're a thickening agent, much like flax seeds are. Like flax seeds are also a thickening agent. Do you guys know that? Most vegetarians know that they use flax seeds to use in place of egg or egg replacer or something like that. You can also use flax seeds in the crust to thicken it. But sea vegetables are great, and I even put the powder in my cultured vegetables when I make my own sauerkraut because it kind of gives it a little thickening agent. So this is agar, and I soaked it in a little bit of sugar cane. It works really well if you put hot water in it. It just dissolves it instantly and it gets all gooey. But I did it earlier, so I'm just going to take kind of a handful because we want this to thicken up. Okay, lemon juice, right? 1/3 cup lemon juice. These are the Myers lemons, local Myers lemons. We are so lucky to have these lemons. And they're not easy to find, but they're really going off right now. These are so delicious. I highly recommend that you get local lemons because they're so yummy. And they make such a difference in the flavor. This gives this pie a really nice kind of bite. And coconut, salt. And,
Have a cup of coconut and cream.
okay, and some salt.
Yes, salt is a half a teaspoon.
Okay, half teaspoon. I have two different kinds of salt here, a sea salt, and which I got in bulk at Down to Earth, and then I had some Hawaiian salt that I brought too. And I highly recommend, if you love to cook, and especially with raw foods, start experimenting with salts because they taste really different. The chocolate that I made earlier, it's so fun to sprinkle a really good salt right on top of it afterwards. So you get a bite of the cacao with a bite of salt. And I've really loved using salt on top of my food. I usually do not cook with it at all. I use it on top, and I use it on top lavishly. I love it that way. So I'm just going to use a little bit of each and just sprinkle a little in there. Okay, vanilla. Now I'm going to start talking about the coconut cream. Does anybody have experience with coconut cream? Okay, goody. I love giving you new things. Coconut oil, and coconut cream. Where is it? Oh, right here. And this is coconut butter. Coconut is one of the most fabulous foods, and coconut oil is so good for you. I was talking with Jen, is it? Yeah. Jen, it's antibacterial, antiviral. It has properties in it that really stimulate the thyroid function. And so many people that have really struggled to lose weight for a long time start putting like 3 tablespoons of coconut oil in their diet, and they start losing weight because their metabolism changes because their thyroid gets healthy. And there's so many things that go along with that in our glandular health. So what we find out is so many of these foods are so highly medicinal, and it's so wonderful to be able to put them in your diet and enjoy them. This had a bad rap for a long time because it was a saturated fat, and we thought that all saturated fats are not really created equal. Now another thing, this is dried coconut. It's dried in the sun, just coconut meat, and then it's ground up to make coconut butter, just like peanut butter or almond butter. And it's delicious. I mean, just a teaspoon is like, oh my gosh, every time anybody eats it. Now, I use it for the cacao. We're going to use it for the cacao mixture, and I'm going to put a little bit in here. Your recipe says a half a cup of coconut oil?
Yes.
Yeah, so here's the deal. This is really liquidy, right? You can hear it. It's really liquidy. That's because it's hot. If it's in the fridge, if any of you have had it, it gets hard as a rock, and it's not fun to use and pull out of the fridge. You can keep this on your shelf for years. They've done studies in the Philippines for at least 4 years long. It does not go rancid. This is the good news because this is an oil that doesn't go rancid. So I use it so often. When I cook my veggies, I'll often cook my veggies in it at a very low heat. So I keep it next to my stove a little bit. But if you get food in it, it'll go rancid. Okay? So you don't, even a little particle of food, and if it's in the heat, it'll go rancid. So I usually keep a little bit out that I'm using often, and then I put the rest away and keep refilling it like that. Same with this. We can use this tonight, and if I'm a real good girl and I keep it clean, it'll just go right in my cupboard again. Because if I put it in the fridge, it's going to get hard. So guess what? If we put it in here, what's going to happen? We're going to have a liquidy pie, which is what you guys are going to get tonight, sort of. Because we can't go refrigerate it. But when we refrigerate this pie, it gets really firm. And so the agar-agar and the coconut oil and the coconut cream give this delicious flavor, and it firms up in the fridge. So if you make it at home for your guests or whatever, and you pull it out and you take a nice slice of it, it's going to be nice and firm. You better eat it pretty quick because it'll start melting. It won't melt that fast, but seriously, but it really makes a great firm pie. Got it? Yeah, okay. So instead of just using a half a cup of the oil, I'm going to use a couple tablespoons of this and a half a cup of oil. Actually, I'm going to use less coconut oil because it'll be too liquidy, and I'll use more of this. This is going to make it a little richer, but we don't care, right? It'll be good. So, because this is pretty liquidy too, see? Yeah. So I'm thinking I'll do about 3 tablespoons. And then we'll taste it. Now also, because we didn't have a Vitamix, I'm doing this, and then I'm going to have to put it in the blender to get it, more reduced, because this won't make it thin. Or you know what I mean, like really grind it all up really good. I think it might want a little bit of coconut oil. So you notice I'm using Arlenes products. I use Arlenes because another oil you can use on any of these desserts or anything is the flax oil as well. I love their flax oil and I love their products because they have high lignans in them. They have the lignans of the flaxseed. So when you pour this oil out, you get all these dark little particles from the flaxseed, and it's so yummy. It just makes it taste so well. Plus, they press their oil and it goes straight to your door. It goes straight to Down to Earth, goes straight to you, whoever orders it. It does not go to a distributor and sit on the shelf for months before it's ordered by a store. So you can order directly. Same with their coconut oil, and I've tried every single coconut oil. I've done classes where people really know their coconut oil, and if you ever taste it, sometimes it's kind of soapy tasting. This oil is fresh picked as well. They, press it right away. And so this is the best tasting. It's a little harder to find, but if you can find it, and it's a little pricier, but it's really, really yummy. And I feel like if it's tastes that good, it must be that much better for me. So I really love the flavor of this. I use this in my bathroom too with a couple of drops of rosemary oil, and it's what I use on my skin all the time. I don't use anything else. I love this stuff. I smell a little coconutty. Arlenes also makes a swirl, and I won't go way into this, but because this is a sugar-free dessert, this is a vegan essential fatty acid supplement. You know how many people take fish oil or flax oil supplements, but they made this new swirl that it tastes amazing. And if you want to chop up some fruit or something like that in the morning, this is made with xylitol, so it's got no sugar whatsoever. And I just want to show you kind of what it looks like. It's like this liquidy purple, it's like blueberry whipped cream. I'm not kidding you, it is so good. And if anybody wants to come up and try it afterwards, just feel free to. But I just wanted to show you that because this is an awesome topping, especially for kids if they're not getting enough essential fatty acids and they're not eating well. This is a really good vegan source. They also make a strawberry one that's just out of flax oil. This one's a blend. So I guess I have to eat this. It's really good. Okay, so we're all done here. So I'm just going to blend this. This is a little double trouble, but you want to see this? It's pretty liquidy, but when I pour it. There we go. That's probably too much. So I'm just going to go off camera here and mic for a minute. The consistency is a little bit more than probably I would want. It's good. I mean, how can you go wrong? You have cashews, fresh lemon, maple syrup. I love maple syrup because maple syrup is a wild crafted food. It comes straight from the tree. I mean, these are awesome, awesome foods. Okay, so I know Carl's probably back in the kitchen. I'm not going to go ahead and mix it, but let's just go ahead and empty it. You know what? Take this to Carl, too. He loves to lick the bowl. He does. All day long today, he was licking the bowl. So I really love local food as much as I can. I try to introduce myself to all the farmers. This is kind of new for me in the last few years because I've traveled so much. But now because I've started Slow Food and got involved with the whole agricultural system here on Maui, it's my number one goal in the next year to learn as much as I can about agriculture in this state. And so I'm trying to forge relationships with the farmers. Has anybody here ever made the raw cacao before? This is a really simple recipe. You know, don't quote me on this, but this is what I have been informed with recently, and what I've come to know with my own body is that the fats, when they are cooked and when they are taken into a factory and then when they are altered, they are very, very bad. So most of your vegetable oils, your deep fried things, they're as bad as, a saturated fat, even though they're a vegetable fat. They call it omega-6s, right? So you have your omega-3s are really good for you. Your 6s, of course, are needed as well. But there's a ratio, like a 3-6-9, the 6 of omega-6s as opposed to the 3s. But we are so out of balance with 6s because we're eating them in breads, donuts. You start reading labels and you'll find that canola oil or your salad dressings are all full of these oils that are vegetable oils that have been highly processed. And even if they're a little bit processed, I don't eat them. I mean, that's really where I draw the line personally. I can taste them. I don't even cook my vegetables with oils like a stir fry. I much prefer to steam my vegetables. That's why I did 2 DVDs on vegetables and chickpeas and lentils, is cooking them and then using the oil on top afterwards. Use a really good, tasty like flax oil, or use a really good coconut oil or olive oil and use it with some seasoning instead of cooking with them. It's just not necessary. So I personally, from the research I've done and enjoying my own body, is coconut and palm oil if they are, not heated when they're made and processed. Yeah, because you metabolize it differently in the body. All right, so we're going to make some chocolate. Now, I understand that there's some yummy local chocolate from the Big Island. I don't know about any of the stores that carry it here, but I found it on Maui, and it's roasted, and it's local roasted plain dark chocolate. And it's really, really good. So it's not raw, but that's okay. It's really very tasty. And some of you, in your candies that you get tonight, it's a darker. It's like a dark roast coffee. It's a dark roast cacao, and it's from the Big Island. So those of you that pick the dark one, you'll get to taste it. But tonight we're using the raw cacao powder, and I'm going to put some nibs in it, which are the little raw cacao nibs. And we're going to put some coconut butter. That's the basis of the creaminess of it. We'll put a little bit of coconut oil and a little bit of vanilla and a little bit of salt, and that's it. Now, you want to do more with it? You certainly can, but we're just going to give you a base of making a really yummy truffle. I'll give you some variations as we go. So I like to start with the liquids. So we're going to start with the cacao, the coconut butter, coconut cream concentrate, 2 tablespoons. Okay. So I'm calling it coconut butter because that's what these people call it. These people, Artisana. They make a really nice coconut butter. But other companies call it a spread or something else. So my tablespoons are always extra big. Just scoop it up. Now, if you want to use this product and just add some water to it, maybe a little maple syrup, make a little gravy, pour it over a fruit salad, yummy. Put it on a piece of toast, yummy. This stuff, eat it out of a spoon, yummier. It's really, really good. Okay, next. Okay, 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. Now again, we're going to have the same situation. This is going to be a little gooey when you first make them. Now this one, I never measure it when I make it at home. I just kind of throw it in. And I usually end up having, it doesn't taste quite sweet enough. I need to add a little of this. And then I get it too liquidy, and then I need to put more powder. So I actually followed this recipe the other day, and it worked perfect. So it should work good for you, too. And a little vanilla, right? About a teaspoon. Let's put a little vanilla in it. I think maybe I forgot to put it on there, but a little vanilla. 1/4 cup maple syrup. Now, that doesn't seem like very much, does it? This coconut butter is really sweet. You would be surprised how sweet it is. Here's the deal about maple syrup. It really has a strong flavor, and some things it complements and some things it doesn't. I did not want to put it in the lilikoi, so I didn't put very much. So when I had the sugar cane juice, I was really happy because a little bit of sugar sometimes is the best thing to use. Get raw sugar, and it won't, it makes a difference on the taste, but it's all good. Now, I don't use honey in my recipes. I usually use the maple syrup. Now, the other thing, does anybody use stevia here? Okay, a lot of people don't like stevia. Stevia is really good for bitter foods. You could probably use it for the cacao because chocolate is bitter. This raw cacao is very bitter. Lemonade is great with stevia. Limeade. I think the lilikoi would have been great, but I was afraid to try it because, what if it wasn't? And lilikois are not that easy to cut them all and put them all together. So you can see we just make a nice little gravy up here. And I need that. Oh, it's right there. So now we just put the cacao in, right? Yeah, I don't use agave very much either, because agave, I used to, but it seems like it's a really high sugar content, but agave is really yummy. It's good too. But, you know, there's been a lot of bad press about it, the way it's been processed and everything. And to tell you the truth, I haven't researched it to find out for myself. It can't be that bad. You know what I mean?
It is.
Is it?
Not the highest content of fructose of anything in the USDA database.
Okay, so that's what it was, yeah. But I mean, if you're not eating a ton of it, but a lot of people were going wild with agave, thinking, "Oh, goody, a good sugar." I don't eat very much sugar at all. I don't even eat that much fruit anymore. It seems like over the years I just keep letting it go. And you know, when I first became a vegan, I was really healthy looking. I'm not trying to brag or anything. People would always come up to us and say, "Oh, you're a vegetarian or you're a vegan, you look healthy." They all look sick. This was in the early 90s, but it was because I only ate raw food. And a lot of vegetarians and a lot of vegans ate a lot of sugar, and they ate a lot of pasta and a lot of starch, and they really weren't being fed, you know, like they thought they should. And they were not eating any fat because they were thinking fat was bad. And so some fats are really bad, and they were causing a lot of diseases. So we seem to be coming to a balance now. It took me a long time. I had some bone problems and some teeth problems because I was eating way too much sugar even as a vegan. I was eating a lot of fruits. And so it's been really good for me to really experiment with my diet and really letting go of a lot of the sugars. Okay, so it's really good to sift this because it gets lumpy. So I'm just going to stir it in. Can you guys get this okay? It's just going to get thicker and thicker and thicker. And I could just dump it, but Erna's asking about carob. What about carob? Well, you know, I've never used carob because I don't like it. I just don't like it. So I've never used it. And thank God we got raw cacao came into our lives, or chocolate. You know, even if it's roasted, it's the best thing is that you can make it yourself really easy, and you don't have to have all those bad fats. Most of your candy bars to me are way too sweet. Even if I get a 77% cacao, because I just don't eat that much sugar anymore. And you will taste these tonight. They're not very sweet. I make them pretty, like truffles that are just, you know, dark chocolate, not much. And a lot of times I'll make it at home, and I have two 11-year-olds that live next door to me, two twin boys. They think they're disgusting because they're so used to sweet. They don't think they're disgusting, but now their mom likes them because she doesn't want to eat very much sugar. But, you know, it's all a personal preference. So if you want a little more sugar in this or a little more sugar taste, then add some. I often like to add a couple tablespoons of sugar to this because it doesn't change the flavor. And I used to use agave. So you could use a little agave too. I think that, like anything, you just don't want to overdo it. Sugar is sugar in many ways. I did put vanilla in it, yes. I always make the biggest mess. I put about a half a teaspoon. Okay, you can see this is getting nice and thick. And I think I'd probably like just a teeny bit more of the powder. Not much. I could put a little salt in it. This is another personal preference. These are really fun. Last New Year's, I made these, and I didn't put any salt in it. And then on the stove, I cut a little bit of sugar and water, and I made a syrup, and I poured that on top. And then I sprinkled salt on top of them. And then I put a yukon berry in them. These golden yukon berries are really tart, and they are so yummy. And then I put a cashew on them, and we served them with champagne before dinner. And people went nuts for them. They were so good, but it had this little shininess on it, you know, and then the salt kind of stuck to it. So I thought I would just sprinkle a little salt on it. I'm just going to put a little more in here. And maybe I'll put a pinch in there. Now I hope I didn't get too much. And then I need to taste it. I wish we had little samples here. You guys could give me your input. Yeah, see that consistency? That's really nice, right there. Now, of course, this is just like the pie, because it has the coconut in it, so it's going to get a lot harder when it's refrigerated, you know? So, Well, I like it. It's sweet enough for me. I'll give it a pinch of salt, and then maybe we'll sprinkle some on top. I might put a splash of more, maybe that. So these are the nibs. I really like the nibs in these because they're crunchy. You guys ever tried these? These are the dark cacao nibs, and they're nice and crunchy. So you sprinkle those in, and that's going to take up some of the thickness too. You know what I mean? It's going to make it more dense. And that's really all there is to it. I'm just going to give a little splash of this. Just a little splash. He had, Sammy at the farmer's market today also had fresh coconut juice. And so I took a little of the sugar cane and put it in the coconut juice. It was really good. He also had this sugar cane juice with ginger. It was fantastic. So I think we have a nice mixture here. These are my favorite thing to do with these. Now, a lot of you, I know a lot of massage therapists and people that are working physically all day long, and you get hungry and you need to eat something. This is a great boost for a little bit of energy, an afternoon sweet treat. It's got some good fats in it. It's got the cacao. You have little berries in it, and it's nice. It doesn't fill you up, but it kind of gives you that little pick you up. You don't want to eat it too late at night if you're sensitive, because the cacao can really keep you awake. I can't eat it at night. So you just take it like this. You can roll it in a ball. You can just refrigerate them like that. Or I like to take a berry or something like that, and just press it down, and then you make a little dessert like that. That's the way I do them. You can make them bigger. You can make a bar. You can put nuts in them. You can put flax seeds in them. They last ages. They just last ages. I put them in my fridge, and it'd be a month later, and I'll still eat them. Sometimes I freeze them. They're great gifts. People just love them. You can get these little boxes at Michael's or one of those kind of stores, or buy a cute little glass dish for somebody and put a few of these in there. And you put the berries on the top, and then take a really wonderful sea salt or your Hawaiian salts and just sprinkle it right on top. So it's just, you can see it right on top. And then you get like this nice burst of salt with it at the same time. Yes, there is a very, very active, large slow food organization on Oahu. Right now is Tierra Madre. Does anybody know slow food and what slow food's about? Well, slow food was started, and I might have the year wrong or whatever, but it's like 1987, 88, by Carlo Petrini in Italy when they went to go build the first McDonald's in Rome. And he says, "Oh, no, you don't," and staged a protest and started the slow food movement. And right now, every 2 years, they have a huge gathering in Torino, Italy, and it's where the Olympics was held, in Torino. And it's every 2 years, and it's called Terra Madre, Mother Earth. And I went 2 years ago, and it's going on right now as we speak, so most of the people aren't here. I went on a scholarship, and I really thought I was pretty cool when I got a scholarship. And I was like, oh my God, I got picked. You know, I was just blown away because I'd even forgotten I'd applied. So I called them up and I said, is this really true? And they said, yes. And I said, well, how many people did you got at scholarships? And I thought they'd say maybe 15. I thought like my feathers were really big. I thought I was one of 15 people or something. 6,000. 6,000 scholarships. That's how fabulous this organization is. They do whatever they can to bring everyone together. And all I had to pay for was get myself there. And some of the farmers that can't even afford airfare, they pay for that as well. And so there's a huge network, and now it's in cities and states everywhere. And the U.S., Slow Food USA, is doing a lot of work politically in schools, which is really wonderful because I worked in schools as a school lunch advocate all through the 90s, and we need something much bigger than the work we did at Ursay, but it was a really good start. And we just started a convivium, that's what they call them, a network or a convivium on Maui in the last several months. We put on 3 events a year. That's what we're required to do as part of the network. And our events are all focused around something that provides education to build a relationship with the farmers, the producers, the chefs, the growers, anybody that has anything to do with food, to bring the ritual of the table back, to bring our culture back so that our food has a sense of place. And one of the biggest words that they like to use is that we have pleasure and that we're connected to where our food comes from and who grows it and who makes it. So today, as we speak, we're hosting a big event up at Lavender Farm. So that's one of the events that we do. They have dinners. A lot of the chefs get involved. They donate their time. And we just keep providing education and pleasure and fun all around food. It's really the opposite of fast food, because it was a McDonald's, like a fast food place, was going into Rome, and here's Italy. It was going to take away their sense of culture, their sense of food having a place, and they're a very progressive organization, doing quite well. Try to eat in season. Everything has a sense of place. It's cultural, seasonal, right location. That's what we mean by sense of place. Yeah. You'd have to go to the website. I would go Google it. It's probably Slow Food Oahu. Ours is Slow Food Maui. And they don't get into any agenda with regards to vegetarianism or vegan or anything like that. It's more about the relationship with the people and the land and the culture. And of course, health and sustainability. But in winding up this, I would say that it's really powerful what you guys are doing and that you all show up. This is a beautiful organization. It's the largest audience that I've ever had with an organization here in the islands. And I just really want to compliment you all because, our food is our life and our water is our life and our air. And our food choices have as much to do with the environmental impact as anything else, not to mention our health. And if we don't have our health, we really don't have much of a life. And I know for me, I just had my 65th birthday, and I have definitely gone through health challenges over the last, 20 years, from 45 to 65 is when you go through menopause and everything else. And I've had to adjust my diet as I've gone along. And every single time I've been able to heal whatever I've had, whether it's bone loss or it's an arthritic kind of thumb coming along or anything like that, I've been able to reverse with my diet. And it just gets better and better and better. Like when I travel and sometimes we eat on the go and we're just going to go, well, whatever. Well, when I do whatever for a couple of weeks, I feel it. And that doesn't mean it's bad and that my body can't take it, but if we really want to live a healthy, beautiful, abundant life and enjoy our grandchildren, then food, I think, is the number one. Besides, of course, activity is really important too. But food is our number one healing and thriving, and the gift we were given from whoever. And so I really encourage you to learn as much as you can about food and to start taking the time to put it into your diet, into your life every day, to enjoy it, because you've really got to enjoy your time in the kitchen and spend a little more time there. And if you don't have enough time in your life, make it. And that's why I did the DVD series, because it's really hard for me to learn from a book. I had to learn from doing and watching. That's how I learned raw food so easily. So what I made was Raw Food Basics, which gives you like how to soak and sprout, the timing, what it looks like, how to store your nuts and seeds after you soak them, how to make some entrees, some desserts, and the basics. So then you can pick up any raw food book and you're going to know what the heck they're talking about. It's going to be a lot easier. But raw food is really easier to learn by doing. And then I did the a la oils, which is 2 DVDs on fats and oils and combining like nuts and seeds with your cooked food. And then I do one on cultured food, how to make your own sauerkraut. And so they sell on the internet, and they've been selling internationally really actually pretty well because people seem to really like them, some of the people that are doing a lot of food advocacy. It comes with an ebook. There's a full ebook with some writing in it and all the recipes. All the recipes are on the DVDs anyway, but pictures and recipes so you can really see what you're doing. And it comes with a shopping guide. So I've done all the balls now. So all I have to do is stick the Yukon berries in them. You know those big raw cashews? Those are really good on these too. So do you have any more questions? Yes?
Do you ever do kombucha?
I do. Yeah, she asked if I ever did kombucha, And yeah, I love kombucha.
So do you think it's a good...
Well, I think like anything, it can be overused. I know if I drink too much of it, seems I get a little stomach ache after a while. But everybody's so different. I have a friend that drinks it constantly. What is it? Kombucha. It's like made from a mushroom. It's a fermented beverage from a mushroom. Is it a mushroom? Yes. It's a fungus. So some people think it's not good to be drinking something that's a fungus. But it's got a lot of. I like Rejuvelac. Rejuvelac to me, I don't know, kind of feels better. But every now and then I do buy kombucha at the store. I get a little weak kneed too. I can really feel it. It's got a little alcohol content, very little, but yeah. Anything else? Yes.
What did you do for your bone loss?
Quit eating a lot of sugar and upped my vegetable count, really, and put minerals and cultured vegetables in my diet. Minerals are so important. They are at the basis of our bodies. When we have water coming down out of the mountains, it comes through rocks and soil and this highly mineralized water that was meant to really feed us, and we don't have that very much anymore. So minerals are so important, and that's why I encourage you to learn to put sea vegetables or lots of natural minerals into your life, because the minerals are the base. You start really mineralizing yourself and you'll build your bones, and that in activity, weight-bearing activity or exercise, which I get tons of. But I think minerals are the most important, because and digestion. That's why I eat cultured vegetables every day, at least once a day. If you take a probiotic pill, many of you had antibiotics, if you take a probiotic pill, which many people do after they've had antibiotics, you are not going to get the same kind of strains from that probiotic pill as you will from your own cultured vegetables, because you have the vegetable, the cabbage, I put ong choy in mine, or kale and onions, local onions and ginger and lots of sea vegetables, and it's delicious, and it's so easy to make. And then a couple tablespoons a day, and you are getting more life than you can possibly imagine. And if you don't have a good intestinal tract, this is your second brain here. This is your central system. You've got to have good digestion, or none of those minerals will do any good, and none of those vitamins will do any good, because your calcium's really not going to do any good either unless you're digesting it and absorbing it. And so you really have to start. It's like a farmer starting with really good soil. You need to have a really good propagated intestinal flora going, and then really enjoy lots of minerals. And you don't want to eat a lot of sugar. I make a green smoothie drink every day. This is all in my DVD series, but we can talk. They want to stop. Thank you all so much for having me. Oh, thank you. Thank you, everyone, so much for having me.
Thank you very much, Chef Susan Teton Campbell, for a really wonderful cooking demonstration and some thoughtful information to go along with it. And I hope she's opened up you to possibilities of a raw food diet. Now, if you'd like to, please join us in the courtyard outside for some delicious treats that Susan made earlier and that she also made tonight for you. And I see a lot of you are already beginning to gather around Susan for some questions. If you can, would you please help us stack up the chairs in groups of 10? We'd really appreciate that. We need to be out of here by 9 o'clock tonight. We need to be out of here by 9 o'clock. And thank you all for coming. Have a safe return home. Good night, everyone.
This program is brought to you by the Vegetarian Society of Hawaii, a nonprofit organization dedicated to sharing with the community the many benefits of a vegetarian diet. Free monthly meetings include vegetarian experts found locally and on the mainland, quick and easy cooking demonstrations, and healthful and delicious food samples. Members enjoy an informative quarterly newsletter, social activities, and discounts at many vegetarian-friendly restaurants and health food stores. For an application, call 944-8344. That's 944-8344. Or visit our website at www.vsh.org. vsh.org.